Hey everyone, welcome back to my live writing test series where I write a brand new essay in response to this week's latest IELTS Task 2 questions. Alright, let's go. Many people believe that 18 years old is the appropriate age to finish school. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this statement? Well, okay, that's an interesting question because I think most people usually do go to school for about, well, not like, sorry about the noise, not like 18 years like in total, but I think just like, from 5 to 18, that's about 13 years of schooling. So that seems pretty reasonable. I don't know. I mean, well, to give you a little backstory, I personally don't like the idea of formal schooling. I mean, like, primary and secondary, although I do think that kids benefit from learning in groups and going to school, making friends, all that is pretty important. But I think that school stifles creativity, and I don't know, why is it like, why can't you graduate earlier? I mean, graduate high school earlier than others. I don't think it's so. I think I'm gonna disagree with this because I think it should be younger. I know that I would have been able to handle leaving high school and graduating maybe a year earlier, but then again, I mean, every country has a different system. For example, we had some really tough math and I always hated it, but on the other hand, I really enjoyed like history and geography and the social sciences and English, of course. Fun fact: I never studied for my exams for English. It's really strange how things can predict the future in that way. But anyway, so to get back to the point here, I think I'm gonna disagree. I think it should be. And again, see, now let's say that you think that children, people should finish high school later, right? That would also be a disagreement, all right? So if you agree, that means that you think that, yeah, 18 years old is an appropriate age. But if you disagree, it doesn't mean you think you have to share my view, right? You could even say, well, no, actually, they should stay in school for a bit longer. And school here is again just traditionally referring to, school as in what you do before, because I know sometimes in the US they use school to refer to university education. It's kind of used, in a very, they're used to kind of talk about the same thing. But here specifically, they mean completing high school, right? Because I mean, 18 years, that's when most people graduate from high school. Some people might graduate at 17. 18 and a half. Those, of course, can vary depending on, when you were born. Like, I think I graduated high school when I was 17 and a half or something. No, I don't know, like 17 and a half or something, because I was born in November. So, school year start in July or June or something. And anyway, that's a funny thing. Right, so let me get my ideas here, right? So the first thing we always do, we're going to think of our body paragraph. So body paragraph 1 and body paragraph 2. This is an opinion essay. Remember, pick only one thing. They don't want you to do 10 things and, offer 2, 3, 4, 5 opinions. I see a lot of people just like, start off the right way and then they end up kind of just, changing paths. Like they would end up trying to offer a balanced view, but they're not asking you for a balanced view. Why would you do that? What I feel is that IELTS essays have been kind of pointlessly overly complexified. I'm not trying to name names, but obviously there's people who will profit from telling you that it's difficult, complicated, blah, 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 but it's really not. I think that the people who write these exams, who, create these questions for you, they do a pretty good job making it clear what they want from you. It's just that, over the years, obviously, things have, like if you're a test taker, you don't have the kind of training a teacher does or an examiner does. And so it can be difficult to understand, right? Especially if you're self-studying. And that's pretty much why I've, started this series. So here we go. I disagree. I think it should be earlier. But again, I generally think that, hey, let people take how much ever time they need. Some people need less time. Some people need more time. I don't think that school should be so rigid. Basically, that's my point of view. So I disagree with this idea. I'm going to need to have a reason for disagreeing. I can't just say, yeah, I disagree and not make it clear why I disagree. Remember, when you write paragraphs, a lot of people have this idea that paragraphing is just like, oh yeah, I wrote like a lot of words. Okay, let me start a new paragraph. That's kind of what we do in school, right? But that's not the right way. I don't think, at least I don't remember being taught how to write paragraphs or why to write paragraphs in school, even though we had a great education. But it's funny, they don't actually, like, they expect you to write essays and stuff like that, and like, even like, tell you about things like, oh, this is the kind of theme that you have, this is your outline and stuff like that, but they never really expound on the fact that when you start a new paragraph, it's not because you've written too much already. It's only because you have something new to say. You have a brand new central topic or idea that you want to expand on, okay? Sorry, I'm not looking at my comments. Let me just have a look and see if someone said something. And of course, you're all welcome to, leave your comments and suggestions and ideas. Hold on, let me check real quick. Okay, nothing yet. Right, so as I was saying, what was I saying? I tend to forget things so often. Anyway, right, well, I disagree, and so that's that. I'm just going to go ahead with this. So when you write a paragraph, make sure that each paragraph has a central topic. I think even though the band descriptors that you as a test taker get are public band descriptors, of course not giving you the examiner's version, but they're very close. I mean, they're very, I think they're very clear and concise. Maybe someday I'll make a video about, like what the band descriptors really mean in simple everyday language. Just let me know if you think that's a good idea. Maybe I could turn into a blog post, maybe a video, I don't know. I have some ideas. I would like to explain that in a simpler way because, there's just so much misunderstanding. Anyway, let's get back to work. So I need a reason for disagreeing. I think everyone studies at a different pace. I don't think it's fair that you judge a fish by its ability to climb walls. That's just ridiculous. I think that's something that Albert Einstein said. And you know what? It's funny because we really should say Einstein, but the weird thing in English is anytime you got some with a foreign name, it, kind of changes. So we do say Einstein, but technically it's incorrect because the guy was German. And well, anyway, I digress too much. So, not all people learn and understand and progress at the same pace. Yeah, that's a good main idea sentence. Look at me patting myself on the back. Not all people learn. What's this? Progress and what did I say? Learn, progress, and oh yeah, I think I'll just say learn and progress. Everyone has a different, like for example, when I was in 8th grade, my math skills were at a 6th grade level, probably even a 5th grade level, right? Because I don't know, whenever I'm faced with numbers, I just kind of have to do everything super slowly. I mean, once I graduated high school and, learned more about things like, just world in general, I realized I might have dyscalculia, right? And back when I was a kid, nobody really cared about this stuff. It was just like, oh, you're just lazy, you just gotta work harder and, stuff like that. Anyway, kids nowadays definitely have it much better than we did. Now I sound like a boomer. Okay. Right, so not all people learn and progress at the same pace. I think this is a good main idea sentence. I'm not going to tamper with it, so let me just get on with the next main idea sentence. Your main idea sentence is your reason for why you have this point of view. So why do I think that 18 years is not the appropriate age to finish school? First, because, everyone's operating on a different wavelength. It's wrong to measure everyone's progress with the same yardstick, essentially, right? Another reason could be something like, let me see, again, everybody I think also has different interests, so I think school should be a bit more personalized. Now, I know logistically that might be a nightmare. Let's say when I was 13, 14 years old, I really wanted to learn music, like really, like, I wanted to like have a band and everything. And I was about to select music as an option because, we were able to, I think, select, I don't know, exactly what it was, but they gave us a choice, like you can do this, this, and this, I think in ninth or 10th grade or something. And I told my mom, and obviously she was like, "What are you saying? Come on, don't do that. Just go with your traditional subjects." And I got a bit, upset, but actually she was right. Um, and but no, still, I think that, I mean, it's just she was right because the system here is so rigid, right? But if there was an alternate system, people could explore. I mean, why is it that everybody has to learn the same thing? Why is it? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Do I use fractions in daily life? No, I have a calculator to do that for me. Come on. I mean, it's just pointless. It doesn't make any sense. So anyway, what was I saying? Right. Okay. Um, I think that programs should be more inclusive, more tolerant, there should be more variety. Now I know that might not really work out in the real world. Um, and again, there of course are schools like I'm not sure, the Waldorf method or something, where you do kind of have a more, you have more freedom of choice, I guess. I knew someone who studied at one of those schools. She was really bright, really perceptive. Anyway, so what was my sentence again? Okay, not all people learn at the same pace. So education should be personalized. I believe that not everyone has to learn the same things, right? Because I have zero interest in math. It's never going to change. I don't use it in my career. And it doesn't make any sense. Like, you teach them the basics, that's fine. But, like, beyond what they teach you in fifth grade and so on, it's, like, so hyper personalized. I mean, do I remember the chemical formula of, I don't know, sodium dihydroxide or whatever? I don't. I'm not trying to be dismissive, but I have zero interest in things like that, right? And I know that I'm not saying people don't change. People do, of course. I mean, I'm a different person now than when I was 10 years old, 15, 20 years old. Huge change. But this is important. I mean, let's say, if you just don't have the skills for something, you're unlikely to really change in such a drastic manner. So I think education should really be personalized. I mean, true, real education. Like, now I can choose what I want to study, right? When I was in, I think, am I like going off topic too much? Like, I feel like I really like explaining things, and I don't know, it's adding to the time, obviously. But I mean, I'm trying to explain my point of view to everyone watching, right? So I feel like this is a good way. It's like kind of interactive, and you get to understand the reasoning behind what I'm writing. I don't want to just be like, here's an essay, and I type the whole thing out without explaining my point of view, right? Because see, again, this is like what goes on in your mind when you're thinking, what do I write, right? But yeah, you let me know, if I'm like yapping too much. I'll try and cut it down. Okay, so education should be personalized. Now again, you don't have to worry about, oh, but that's not realistic and how we're going to do this. Because hey, do they say anywhere, are they telling you anywhere that, oh, all your points have to be super realistic, by the way? No. And again, I mean, if you can afford it, education can be personalized. Depends, like, let's say if you have zero options, you're going to send your kid to public school. Or maybe, let's say, if you live in some place like I do, private schools are aplenty, and most people prefer to send their kids to private schools. While you do have some choices in terms of being able to personalize a few things, it's not to the level that I would like it to be. So yeah, I think education should be personalized. For example, I don't think that, learning really stops. I think that's a good point. Learning never really stops. But I don't know. They're talking about school. So again, I'm just gonna, keep it to that kind of level. Again, everybody has different interests and stuff like that. So I'm gonna make note of that here. Education should be personalized. But do you think that there's some kind of overlap between these 2 points? Not all people learn and progress at the same pace. No, there isn't, because I answered my own question. There isn't, because when I say personalize, I mean let the kid learn what he or she wants to learn. Don't just like force them, do this and do that. I want you to do math, I want you to do engineering and blah, blah, blah. They have no interest in it. They're going to hate their experience. And you don't want to make someone hate the process of learning, because learning happens for a lifetime. You're learning when you're 40, when you're 50, when you're 80, if you're lucky enough to be alive by then. So really, I mean, you see a lot of people who are very jaded with the whole idea of education because they've had bad experiences, right? So it's just kind of like, I personally think the education system needs a revamp. You can clearly see I'm very passionate about this topic. Okay, well, let me think of my supporting idea sentences. So we always just write 3 supporting ideas. You don't really need more than that. I mean, it would just be overkill. And again, I mean, you only want to put in the amount of effort that will, get you the highest return on your investment. All right, so not all people learn and progress at the same pace. You do have, for example, special needs. Some people have special needs. Like, for example, you have dyslexia and dyscalculia, stuff like that. And again, it's like, it's not a super rare thing either. It's actually pretty common. It's just that, we do a good job of like, just like ignoring the stuff. So anyway, so got this, yeah, dyscalculia as well. And again, you don't need to know these words. These are just my ideas. You could say something else, okay? So don't worry if you don't know the term dyscalculia or if it's the first time you're coming across this. That's the point of this whole series, to expose you to different things, all right? Okay, let's see. What else? Some people have special, well, I shouldn't say people, I should say kids. Okay, not everybody learns and progresses at the same pace. So obviously they're gonna need, a different approach. They're gonna maybe need more time to learn the same things. Some people, again, I do think that skills tend to be, some skills tend to be innate. So, some kids might naturally be good at something else. To, expect them. I mean that I'm just repeating. Again, X and Y, of course, you're not going to write X and Y. You're going to write some kids are good at math. And they might be able to do 5th grade math at a 3rd grade level. Some might be able to do like 12th grade reading at a 10th grade level, right? Like I was able to do that. And I was bored. The thing, I think, yeah, this is a really important thing. Learning should be challenging enough. What is that thing called? Scaffolding or something? It's a whole theory in psychology, but of course I'm not going to expound on that too much. But I could say that learning, should be challenging. I mean, it should be something that, if it's too easy for you, you get bored, right? And if it's too difficult, then you give up. It has to be, there has to be that middle ground. Again, you may not know about this, and that's okay. You don't have to worry about that. I just know this because, hey, this is my field, or it was for a long time. Uh-oh, I think my stream just stopped. Sorry about that. Let me just type something. I'm gonna check if it's still streaming. I hope so. Yeah, I think I accidentally stopped. Okay, let me just check real quick. Yeah. Oh, there we go. We're back. Sorry about that. I'm still like learning the ropes, okay? So, anyway, as I was saying, it's a whole psychological theory about how learning should be challenging enough, but not too challenging, right? So, if you give like a 5th grade kid 5th grade English and it's too easy for them, they're going to find it boring and they're not going to be interested. And you don't want them to start, hating or being bored with education. So that's a really important thing. There might be some overlap. Let me think. What else could I say? Everybody has different interests. I think this might actually just be something that's, more suited to this one. But let me flesh out my ideas for this one first. Education should be personalized. Learn based on your I think you should learn things based on your location. Like obviously you need to learn about your country's history. You need to learn basic things, right? Based on your needs. That of course has to be there, but you should also learn based on your, well, I mean, I'm writing your, but you shouldn't use personal pronouns in your essays. This is just note making, so it's fine. Learn based on your interests. I really think that like I would have loved to, like, have the choice to learn a whole bunch of languages, in high school. I would have loved that. I really would have loved that. And I even taught myself Russian and some German as well. But I was like, well, it wasn't like, a formal program. Had I had that opportunity, I don't know, things would have been different, right? I mean, I was always thinking, oh, it'd be fun to, grow up and be like a translator or whatever. Now, of course, I realize it's a very, a very hectic kind of job. I wouldn't really want that, but anyway, I digress. What else? Education should be personalized. Let's see. 18 years old is not an appropriate age because some kids, oh yeah, levels, right? Can read or operate at higher levels and should have opportunity to scale ahead or skip. Learning should be challenging enough. I don't know if this is really a valid point because the more I think about it, I realize, okay, maybe this has to change. So again, I know you're watching, so if you comment something down below, maybe I can, get like a second pair of eyes on this thing here. Anyway, I would love if you engage. All right, so I'm gonna like take a rain check on this one. Anyway, I need to talk less, think more. Education should be personalized. Why is, and again, this is actually a good representation of, see, when you have an opinion essay, you might think, oh, that's easy. But I would say personally, that opinion essays require a bit more work compared to any of the other essay types. Because with an opinion essay, you really need to think about your paragraphs from scratch, right? Think about it. If you had a discussion essay, you would have had to, I mean, you already know that, okay, body paragraph 1 is going to be about, opinion Y, and body paragraph 2 is going to be about opinion X. You know that already. All you have to do is flesh out your supporting ideas. But with an opinion essay, you really do have to, there's a lot of front loading. Like you really have to think about your supporting ideas, your main ideas, all from scratch, right? Because again, you pick your own path. So while it might seem deceptively easy, it really is not if you're doing it correctly, of course. So education should be personalized. See, if you can't explain a main idea well, just get rid of it. Just change it, okay? Anyway, I'm gonna push ahead on this one because I'm really passionate about this. Learn what's necessary. Of course, that is important. Again, I'm thinking maybe I'll just change this because I don't know. I don't like this main idea too much. I do believe in it, but not everyone learns it. I think it kind of ties into the same thing. I don't want to be repetitive because again, when you start writing and when you've already written your paragraph, it might be too late to change. So you got to be careful there. So not all people learn in progress at the same pace. Pace. Let me see. Some people need more time to understand stuff, right? Some people have special needs. I'm writing 4, but I'm only going to pick 3, all right? Need more time to understand things. Like, even if they don't have a learning disability or something, they still may need more time. Some kids need less time. So education should be personalized. Learning should be challenging enough for the child. Based on the child's level. Right? I mean, I used to work at this place. I'm not going to disclose the name. But they had these lovely, like it was a tutoring center, and they had these lovely tests. Like, it doesn't matter which grade you're currently in. What they wanted to find out, and again, it was just an English and math tutoring center. So what they did was they would, like, a kid comes in and they would assign them a test. Let's say you're in 6th grade, so you get like a 6th grade test, and depending on your results you might get a different test. Like you might get a 7th grade test or a 5th grade test, right? Because we really want to find out What's your true level? Like, yeah, in school, like even if you get 35 out of 100, they'll pass you, they'll move on, to the next grade. But that kid needs attention. I mean, it would be wrong to just let them go into that grade, not as punishment, no, but they need help. That's a signal. And I think that is a big problem with the existing school system, that they need additional tuition, they need more help. You should be giving them that help instead of just like, yeah, you can go on to the fourth grade. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous, right? um so that was a really good system, right? You really are starting them off like, yeah, parents would often be embarrassed. What are you saying? My child's in the sixth grade and you're giving them a fifth grade test. This is ridiculous. But once we explained it to them, they were like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I took the test, and let me tell you, I was, I think, 21 when I took that. I took like a math test for 12th grade. I don't know. I mean, I told them that, hey, I'm not gonna teach math because like I'm awful at it, right? And I don't understand why, but like maybe they just like me so much because like they were like, oh well, we just want to check. And I mean, I told them that, hey, I'm only interested in English. I can't do anything else. They still gave me a math test, and I think they gave me a 12th grade test or a 10th grade test. I don't remember because I told them like I'm awful at this. I don't even know fractions, so you better not expect me to do that. And they went ahead and like after hearing everything, they gave me a test. I'm like, what the hell, dude? Anyway, I did that test, and I think I ended up getting like my math skills were at like a sixth or a seventh grade level at the age of 21. It's funny now because I mean, it really doesn't affect me in any way. I did, of course, try and work hard because I like learning. And I even like, did well. I mean, I could understand fractions and everything because the system they built was really good. Um, and I really realized the importance of having good systems and processes in place, which is actually kind of what I modeled my short score system training around, because I really believe processes and systems are really important. Anyway, that was a huge story. Okay. I think this looks good. Special needs kids obviously don't progress at the same pace and they might feel left out. That could really demotivate them. This is good. Let's go with this. All right. I still have to check. I always forget. I have to check these ideas and see if they're in the right order or if I could change the order. So I think this should be number one. Some kids need more time. Yeah, this is fine. It should be under needs, should be under interests, and should be challenging enough. I think this is good. Um, I don't know though if this is relevant. You see, I'm still kind of going back and forth on this, and it's been half an hour. Okay, well, learning to be challenging enough based on a kid's level. And again, some kids might do it sooner, some kids might do it later. Why is it's such an arbitrary age, right? Um, Personalized and not based on something arbitrary. Like, why is it that if you're like 5 years old or 6 years old, it goes straight to grade one? What if, let's say you've been homeschooled and you can read at a second grade level? Why not? Why shouldn't you go there? Like, come on, that's just ridiculous. If a kid can read at a third grade level and can do everything else at a third grade level, why does he or she have to go to the second grade or the first grade or whatever? Age is it should be based on skills and not on something as arbitrary as age. Should be, yeah, should be maybe based on skills, maybe something like that. But anyway, this is good. This is good. Let me get straight on with the introduction. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is say something about education. Um, Formal education. Let me see. Education has always been around, or maybe you can say education is important. Again, you don't have to write something very path-breaking. There's no points for creativity on the IELTS, so don't try to go all Shakespeare here. Come on, it's not that important. I would say stick to the easiest thing you can write. For me, that could possibly be. Let me see. I think that formal education. Actually, it's funny because, for a long time, education has largely been informal. Anyway, that's just a little historical fact. Okay, so what was I saying? I keep forgetting. My short-term memory is so bad. Anyway, okay. Has only been around for a couple hundred years. because I mean, people used to be tutored by private teachers. Some countries have had systems where, you would have, but largely, I mean, education was something that most people did not receive, in the way that every single person who's born like today is pretty much guaranteed to get an education. But back then, I mean, like, 400, 500 years ago, and more than that, education used to be seen as a privilege. Only a few people would have it, right? So formal education, and widespread was largely considered a privilege until, I would say, until the end of, well, I don't want to, relatively recently. Again, normally I don't use while when I'm writing an opinion essay, but here I want to kind of, add a transition because I'm referring to the fact that this is all good and everything, but we do need some kind of change in the educational, system. Formal education, while this is largely a positive, thing. Well, obviously it's a good thing. Hey, education is never bad, right? Largely a positive change. I'm going to use that word here. Something that needs to be, you have to think about that once more. That's it. So I'm saying education is good, but there is one thing that's not so good, and that's the whole randomness. Like, oh, you graduate when you're 18. I mean, that's ridiculous. Some people need more time, some people need less time, basically, right? So the arbitrariness with which children's high school education age is decided, or rather, the arbitrariness with which the end of formal education is decided, the age at which this education ends is decided, is something that needs to change. Again, this is not your normal introduction, and that's obviously a great thing, not to toot my own horn, but you don't have to write things this exact way. This is obviously a construction that's, I would say, complex, not in terms of being hard to understand, but in terms of the linking between these two sentences leading to greater coherence. And of course, the fact that I don't do the traditional, in my opinion, I think A, B, C, X, Y, Z. I think that's one of the worst ways you can write your introduction. That might come as a shock to you if you're watching and you're not a student of mine. But that is really something you need to think about. Because go watch another video, really. I mean, you'll see that everyone's peddling the same stuff. And yet, I mean, of course, you as a test taker, as a student, wouldn't really be able to, I think, correctly, understand whether someone's doing the right thing or not, and judge another person's grammar and stuff like that. But most of these videos you see online, they're really awful quality. And so you really need to be careful about where you're getting your essays, your band 9 essays and things like that from, okay? Anyway, let me go on to the next thing. That's my first main idea sentence. Okay, so not all people learn and progress at the same pace. Okay, I'm gonna use something like, most importantly, I think this is a major issue. Most importantly, there are many children who have special needs, such as and they they may need additional support or help to achieve an academic year's target. Additionally, many children, another important fact is, or another thing to consider, or similarly, I think I'm gonna use a third idea. Even amongst kids, oh, what's this? I don't use the word kids, of course. Even amongst children that are, what's that? Neurodivergent is when you have, like, something like dyslexia or ADHD or something like that. What's the term for neurotypical? Right. Even amongst children that are neurotypical, there exist many pupils, many students who simply need more time to understand the concepts and ideas presented to them, which may mean that they need they may not be able to necessarily learn everything what they need to within an academic year. I probably spend more time on idea generation than I do on the actual typing. Let's see. Okay, what's my next idea? Some kids can read or operate at higher levels. Okay. It is not just, I think my first two ideas have been about kids that need more help, but my last idea is going to be something slightly different. That, there are kids who can actually do advanced math, advanced English, they have advanced skills. So why should they be held back in the same classroom? I mean, they would just be bored and they would, hate education. So it is not just kids with I have to think of the right way to frame this. The transitions are really important. Most people don't think about them much, but they really, really are important. Let's see. Another important fact, another important section, another group, or perhaps, let's see, I can just use something like furthermore, or I can possibly say, are also many children who can read or have math skills that are, beyond their current beyond their current academic year, due to which it makes little sense to, keep them cloistered in that grade, to hold them back. I mean, I know that in some countries the system of like skipping a year does exist. Like if you really are, extraordinary and you can do it. I don't think it does in my country, and at least in the education system that we have, it can be a bit rigid. I do think it's changing with time, but like obviously change takes time. Anyway, let me get back onto my main goal here. I get sidetracked so often. Anyway, so what's my next idea? Education should be personalized. There we go. I would say that, taking more time to plan your essay is probably more important than the actual writing. But again, I think that might be biased of me to say that, because obviously I can type pretty easily. Like I can write generally, create the sentence pretty easily. So obviously from a student's perspective, it would be different. You might not need to spend as much time thinking and maybe more time forming your sentences. Again, that depends. I would say if your last exam, if you received a 6.5 in your last exam or less than that, then yes, you should probably work on building good, clean, easy to understand sentences. But if you have had a 7 at least once, it means that your sentences are mostly fine, easy to read, and so you might benefit from, arranging your ideas, thinking of your ideas in a better way. I have had students who were really brilliant. I mean, they would get like 8s and 9s in listening, reading, speaking, but they would get a 6.5 in writing, and then they would come to me and we'd be like, let's hash out a plan to help you get a good score. And we've seen them go up to a 7.5, sometimes even 8. All they needed was the right technique. Of course, technique is just like a small part of the overall, process. Your exam skills are just as important as your language skills. Did I say that right? I got so distracted by this noise of kids playing. So exam skills and language skills are both equally important, but how important, again, it could be 40-60, could be 50-50, could be 30-70. Everyone's an individual. You're unique. Your friend is unique. Even though like you might have the same scores, your skills are definitely not the same. So I would say consult a teacher to find out exactly where your blind spots lie. Okay, let me get on with this. Education should be personalized and not based on something as arbitrary as age. This is because the ideal system of education, I think that maybe I could I don't like this over here, so I'm going to take that out. I'm going to put that over here. That over here. I'd like this better over here. There we go. Okay, most importantly, the ideal system of education. Learning, I would say. Did I say that? Okay. Should be taught based on their unique needs, shaped by their age, shaped by their location, like where you live, the job market, because obviously the goal of schooling is to like basically create workers. I know that sounds very bleak, but that's basically the point of it. And you have some values you want to. For example, in really diverse countries, they like mine, for example, we are taught about all the religions, all the races, and everything, and how to be cohesive, to live, to respect other people's values, beliefs, systems. So you want to train young. I mean, obviously, it's easier when you're training them young. Compare that to like training a 30-year-old on how to be tolerant and all that stuff would be a different challenge. So, shaped by their location, essentially, which kind of society do you live in? I think that's a major role. Most importantly, children should be taught based on unique needs, shaped by their location. What else? Future goals and other personal factors. Ability, I think current ability is also future goals and the personal factors. Age is a I wouldn't say it's the least important thing. Obviously, you can't teach a 4-year-old the things you would teach a 16-year-old, right? But age is really not of a very high importance. So age is not the most essential, component. That's not the most essential factor. That there are some things, I do admit, that would only be age appropriate. You can't teach a like 7-year-old about nuclear fission. But hey, there's many 16-year-olds who wouldn't understand that either. So anyway, what's the next thing? Learning should be based on your interest. Yeah. Or I can say likewise. It is important to formulate a system or a plan which focuses on teaching children based on their interests which can, you can, I mean, see, if your kid absolutely hates something, then why bother? Again, there are some things you absolutely need to learn. Yeah, but I'm just saying overall, like for me personally, I would not have missed anything had I not, learned like substitution and tangents and whatever that stuff, tan, cos, pi, stuff like that. I mean, literally nothing in my life would change if I hadn't learned that. It was basically useless, a waste of the teacher's energy and time. Anyway, a plan which focuses on teaching children based on their interests so as to maximize the efficiency of the education that is delivered to the child, right? I think efficiency is more important than, um, I mean, it's more important than most people realize, and that's coming from me. I'm not a very efficient person. That's very funny. Anyway, it's important to formulate a system or a plan which focuses on teaching children based on interests so as to maximize the efficiency of the education that is delivered. Age, as interests can vary with age. I mean, obviously a younger kid would, but again, there's many ways to incorporate children's interests. Don't make it a painful thing. Make it something that's, fun and joyous. Um, it's important to formulate a system or a plan which focuses on teaching children based on interests so as to maximize the efficiency of the education that's delivered. As interests can vary with age. Age doesn't really, I mean, really, I mean, you've got like 25-year-old people playing video games. You think video games are just for kids? Hell no. So, interests. I mean, there is no fixed set. I mean, like I said, interests. I can say interests are not determined by age. Really, I mean, more now than ever. We live in a society in a time where people are very free to express themselves. So like, no one's gonna shame you for saying that you watch cartoons when you're 30 years old. Some people might, okay. I watch some cartoons at times. I mean, hey, I'm just nostalgic anyway. So the last thing is learning should be challenging enough. Should children's abilities and interests be taken into account? But their, learning goals should be based on teaching them things that are challenging enough to be interesting, while at the same time not being too easy or too difficult, which can be the case, especially when somebody gets an somebody gets an E grade or a D grade, and you still promote them to the next level. Then that stuff is going to be too difficult for them, right? I mean, it's just common sense, really, when you think about it. Anyway, so I think that's good. I'm just gonna, yeah, okay. I mean, I've missed something. I don't know if you noticed. No one commented anyway. So hence, if education is to be useful, it has to be, I'm gonna put this over here. It has to be, it has to be, what else can we say? It has to be unique to each student, each learner. Well, I mean, student is fine. Why am I nitpicking? And the next one, if children, what am I saying? If children learn at, varying, children comprehend, learn, understand things. I've already said learn, okay. Vary in terms of their, abilities. they cannot be bound by age. Their learning, their education cannot be bound by age. Like, oh, you're 6 years old, you can only learn stuff for 6 years old. Why? What if they're interested in other things, right? There we go. Okay. There we go, that's it. And then my conclusion. So, the usual conclusion. It is evident that. So, in order, considering age as, your major, your most important factor is, the wrong move. So, deciding deciding when children graduate school based only on their age is a major point of contention in the modern formal education system, because it is not personalized and not because it is not personalized, and it doesn't respect the fact that it's not cognizant of the fact that everyone, learns differently. I mean, some people, for example, learn best by reading, some by doing, some by speaking, some by writing it down. I hope my audio is fine. Just a second. I'm having some issues with the audio. I know. I'm just gonna. Okay, great, perfect. Right. So, learns. Oops, sorry, mistake there. It's not personalized, not cognizant of the fact that everyone learns differently. There we go. That's it. And then some kind of advice. If we truly wish to, this is what happens when your brain works faster than your mouth. If we truly wish to improve the existing system of education, we must change, must do away with age-based graduation. There you go. That's it. Let's check the entire essay. Okay, this one looks big. I'm sorry. It's always this way. It's just the way that I write. So let's see. It says, oh, great, 390. Not too bad. Okay. There we go. I'm just gonna, scroll through this so you can, read, or you can, pause your screen. There's the first paragraph. That's the introduction. Then I've got body paragraph 1. Again, I haven't read. I'm sure there's like a mistake or something in there. Maybe I will. Let me just read it. Okay. Formal education, while immensely popular and widespread nowadays, was largely considered a privilege until relatively recently in human history. While this is largely a positive change, the arbitrariness, oh, there we go, spotted my mistake. See, this is why it's so important to read your work. While this is largely a positive change, the arbitrariness with which the age at which this education ends is decided is something that needs to change. Not all people learn and progress at the same pace. This is because there are many children who have special needs, such as dyslexia or dyscalculia, and they may need additional support or help to achieve the targets of an academic year. Similarly, even amongst children that are neurotypical, there exist many students who simply need more time to understand the concepts and ideas presented to them, which may mean that they may not be able to necessarily complete what they need to within one academic year. Furthermore, there are also many children who can read or have math skills that are beyond their current academic year. I've already said academic year so many times. Let's say school level. Due to which it makes little sense to hold them back from a higher grade if they're capable of doing well. Thus, since children vary in terms of their abilities, their education cannot be bound by age. Education should be personalized and not based on something as random as age. Most importantly, children should be taught based on their unique needs, shaped by their location, current abilities, future goals, and other personal factors. Age is not the most essential factor. Likewise, it is important to formulate a system or a plan which focuses on teaching children based on their interests so as to maximize the efficiency of the education that is delivered. As interests are determined by age, age and not, sorry, what's this? I should say not determined by age. There we go. So many mistakes. But that's why, see, this is just my first draft. You should always read your work. Not only should children's abilities and interests be taken into account, but their learning goals should be based on teaching them things that are challenging enough to be interesting, while at the same time not being too easy or too difficult. Hence, if education is to be useful, it has to be unique to each student. In conclusion, it's evident that deciding when children graduate school based only on their age is a major point of contention in the modern formal education system. Because it is not personalized, not cognizant of the fact that everyone learns differently. If we truly wish to improve the existing system of education, we must do away with age-based progression and graduation. And that's it. I had a lot of fun writing. It was, like I really had to think about stuff, but that's normal. But it was really a lot of fun. And that's all for today. Check back on Saturday when I'll respond to a new speaking test live, or you can come back next week to see me write another essay. And of course, if you've got any comments, suggestions, ideas, I'd love to hear them. Right then, well, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.